domain.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Today is Thursday, November 17th, 2022, and it is 3:33. And I hereby call the Blight and Illegal Dumping Task Force to order. And I'm just going to take a privilege and open with prayer, if y'all don't mind. Just join by head. If you can just take a moment of silence if you rather. Lord God, we just thank you and praise you for this opportunity. We thank you for today. And as we begin our meeting, we just ask for wisdom as we do the business of this city and represent the constituents and the citizens of Memphis. And we just ask for wisdom forward and a way forward and solutions that will be effective and efficient. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. And I thank you for everyone assembled here for their gifts and talents. And as we move forward, we'll be able to hear from everyone here and gain from their experience and knowledge to be a blessing to the city of Memphis and the citizens of Memphis. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. I would like for Ms. Crichton to call the roll at this time.
Director Connect?
Present.
Erica Taylor?
Present.
Robert Witter?
Present.
Chief Ryan?
Present.
Melanie Neal?
Present.
Eldra White?
Present.
Talee White? Telly White? Yeah. Will Gibbons? Carlissa Shaw? Dr. Warren?
Present.
And Councilwoman Logan?
Present. Well, I just want to welcome everyone to the Blight and Illegal Dumping Task Force. Once again, as we start, we just want to make sure everyone knows that Mr. Cedric Young, who's the Chief Security Officer for the City Council, has agendas available up front. Please be mindful that while this is a public meeting, public comments are not currently being accepted. Only those recognized by a member of the task force will be allowed to provide comments to the task force. Is there any old business that we need to discuss before we start? Anyone? All right. Huh? Okay. All right. We're going to, our next item of business is to discuss the short-term recommendations regarding illegal dumping. As you know, when we started out, we kind of gave a roadmap of how we would proceed. There were certain meetings we were going to talk about certain things because this is such a, thank you, sir, such a vast topic and so many ways that we could take it. So we wanted to kind of take a deeper dive into certain topics. And along the way, we have discussed peer city solutions to illegal dumping. We've discussed peer city solutions to blight, vacant lots and abandoned structures. And today we're going to also talk about short-term recommendation priorities. I did mention them at our last meeting, but I really, today we're going to finalize on those so we can move them forward to the council floor. We don't have to wait until the end, which at the end we will present short-term and long-term, but we want to get the ball rolling on a few priorities now. And I thank my colleague, Councilwoman Cheyenne Johnson, for moving that forward. And so we'll talk about those today. And we're also going to hear a presentation from the Blight Authority. So we have quite a bit to do today, and we want to go ahead and get started. And so you all have a document in front of you with a list of recommendations mentioned during our first few months convening as a task force. And I want you to take a look at those just to make certain that we didn't leave any of your recommendations or ideas out. We do want to prioritize them. And if you would, just make a note beside each one of them. We're going to kind of categorize them or prioritize them between 1 and 5. So each one of them, if you would note, 1 being highest priority, 5 being low priority or not immediate, rather. All of them are priorities, but not an immediate priority. And if you could just go through here and make a note by each one of them, and then we'll take the top priorities and move those forward. Some of them have fiscal notes to them, and we'll have to forward those to division directors to put monetary value to them so that we can forward them to council. We want to provide council with as much information and details and insight as possible when moving these forward. The ones that don't make the immediate priority list will be put in with the overall recommendations at the end of the task force. Anybody have any questions? Vice Chair, you have any comments regarding it or anything? Okay. And I want to welcome Attorney Shaw she's one of the members. She hadn't been able to make it, but we're glad to have her here. Is there anybody here for the first time? I think everybody's been here. But thank you, and we appreciate you being a part. And toward the end, we're going to give you a space to kind of share anything that you want to share regarding the topic. All right. Thank you. And so if you all would go ahead, under the form that says short-term recommendations, if you take just a few moments to go ahead and rate or score these topics, I'd greatly appreciate it. And then just kind of put your name on it and pass them on down to, okay, that's fine. Thank you, Liza, I appreciate that. I'll read them and then you all can just kind of put your own scoring. We categorize them into 3 headings. Education and outreach is the first area. So, and these are the recommendations that we have discussed, you all have brought forward. Number 1, or the first one is send an informal pamphlet to each MLG&W ratepayer. And what was going to be on the pamphlet? What was that about? Anybody remember what?
Yeah, it
what
was just awareness about how to report or what is illegal dumping.
Okay. What is illegal dumping? And next was affix anti-illegal dumping graphics with the hotline number to all waste collection and other city-owned non-public safety vehicles. Collins Yard media campaign.
That's actually the convenience center.
The convenience center?
Yeah, we talked about it, but it's going to be a convenience community drop-off center.
Oh, you mean like a dumpster day, permanent dumpster day thing? Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Did y'all hear that? Everybody hear that? That is where we, did the dumpster days, but this is going to be like a permanent one. And so the media campaign would just to let everybody know that we have that.
Yes,
Okay.
to activate it and market it.
Activate that, okay. Did you?
Comment about
go ahead.
the second
All
item.
of, any of them, y'all stop me because I'll keep on rolling.
Okay. So for the second item, I don't know if my mic's on. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay.
Yes,
For the
it's on.
second item, this the illegal dumping hotline number, I think we've got to have a little more conversation right there about that. We've got a litter hotline number, but illegal dumping hotline is something that we've got to talk more about.
Litter hotline. Okay, there was another number that Eldra was talking about. What number was that?
We have our 52 clean hotline for littering motorists, and I agree, I do think we need to consider that and invest in what we have to maybe restructure it so that it includes maybe the illegal dumping component.
Okay, so the litter hotline you were talking about is the one she's talking about.
That's the litter
And that's
hotline.
52 clean?
Right.
To clean, yes.
So what, we don't have one for illegal dumping, but that's what we're recommending. That we
Currently,
get a-
people can call 311, but 311 has, there's a certain amount of hours. There's no real, if something's happening in real time, to dispatch something. So we've got a mechanism for you to make a complaint or request for something that is in existence, but something that's currently happening. I think that was the intent of this second one.
Okay.
Is what we've got to do more exploration on. It doesn't exist currently.
So our recommendation is that we come up with a way to report real time and look at what that's like. Liza, you want to clarify?
Yeah, for the second point, I think it should read affix anti-littering graphics.
Yes.
And that was the recommendation, and then Chief Ryan is saying this task force needs to have more discussion about an illegal dumping reporting method. I think that's
Right, so yes, for the purpose of short-term, replacing illegal dumping with a litter, we can go ahead and stop publicizing that more.
Okay, so-
The 5-2 clean line for
Okay.
people, the motorists that are littering, that is something, a mechanism that's in place, but,
Now.
correct.
Okay, perfect.
That made it clearer, thank you,
All
Liza.
right, but I think we do need to work on that too. That, some good came out of this anyway, so we're gonna have to put that down as a long-term on the back end. So, affix anti-litter dumping, anti-litter graphics. All right. Everybody straight on that? I must have been on the one confused.
And I like our 901 Keep It Clean campaign for that.
901, keep it clean.
We already have the marketing, we've already started, we even have videos and everything. So,
Right.
yes.
I think that's on here too. But anyway, we're going to add that to this list. Okay, did you know pre-recorded wait message for 311 and other city division calls put on hold? That wouldn't take a lot of money, I'm sure. Illegal dumping reporting as a part of Crime Stoppers. Did you want to add to that, Director Connect?
You go ahead,
You?
Mr. Witter.
Discussing maybe combining the illegal dumping reporting part of Crime Stoppers and increase the rewards for reports that lead to the arrest. But then a third point underneath that could potentially be like for the camera cases where I have an individual that's doesn't have a license plate, but he's dumped 5 or 6 times, almost kind of like a litter bugs campaign where people could call in, oh yeah, I know where that guy lives, and then if it comes around, I think Nashville does something similar to that.
Okay, so combine these two, illegal dumping reporting as a part of Crime Stoppers, and increase the reward for reports that lead to arrest. Combine those, and then add to that, now what are we adding?
We don't have rewards now.
Oh,
So it'd be
okay.
really illegal dumping reporting and having a reward system for
Okay.
it. And then having a litter bug component as well, I guess under that Crime Stoppers component.
Okay, so add a litter bug component, meaning
Well,
what?
if we have documented, we have pictures of somebody, putting that out there and including it as part of the crime stopping component. Because this
Okay.
person is a repeat dumper. He's a repeat violator. He's a repeat felon, actually. in the case
Kind
of
of
the
like
state
the
law.
most wanted?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there you go. Most wanted. I like that a lot.
Most wanted
Yeah.
litter bug.
Yeah, most wanted litter bug. I like that a lot.
You are, yeah, okay.
That's
All
really
right.
good, Councilwoman.
Cool. All right. Did we leave out anything? Is everything clear? Need to add anything?
We're gonna put on the Did You Know campaign. I
Yeah,
remember
so we
talking
talked.
about that, but I can't remember exactly what we were gonna say. Oh. I had to push the button too, so sorry about that. I was saying, the Did You Know campaign, I'm trying to remember what message we were gonna convey there. I do remember us talking about, a message that can, be pre-recorded on the 311 system when people call in, and that's not difficult. I'm just trying to remember what the
But it
message
was
is.
a lot of stuff.
Blight centric. We're like, did you know your grass should always be less than 12 inches? Did you know it was illegal to park on the grass?
Yeah.
Did you know you should, your property should not be open to casual entry? It was just basically some blight centric messaging.
Anything, really. I mean, did you
Yeah.
know that the most, what about the cigarette butts? It's the most
Oh,
litter
it's the most
thing in the
littered thing
world.
in the world.
Yeah, it's just general information that people don't know, or did you know you can call 5-2 clean, you know?
take
And I'm
like-
sure it could change and update, but just to utilize every opportunity to inform people, share information. So when they're sitting on hold, instead of them saying, oh my God, it's taking them so long, then, they can be listening to information.
Or like when the convenience center is open or the landfills are open for like special dumping. I think we talked about.
Yeah, publicizing. Yeah, did you know that the landfill, you can take so much to the landfill, and I would show your MLW bill. Thank you.
Even about the mow to own. So we'll just utilize that for as much. Then we have to, I guess, identify where that's going to come from, but we'll figure that out. All right, if that's it on education, the next area is policy recommendations. Create a fee structure and payment option for citizens to put bulk waste on their curb. Schedule and pay for pickup on the city website. Anything
That's
else?
the pay-as-you-throw model, yeah.
Review used higher ordinance on books for advisement. All right. Cut public service corps, 100-person part-time complement in order to hire less staff at full-time hours. Anybody here? You don't want to do that?
No, they're not here.
Oh, they're not here.
Didn't see anybody. Oh, he's here. Oh,
Yeah.
I missed you,
was gonna
sorry.
say, I thought.
You're totally here, my apologies.
So, because we haven't been able to hire 100 people for the part-time, I think it came up about, well, maybe hire less at full-time. Or, so you want to add to that or say anything about that? What are your thoughts about that?
We hiring.
So that. Yeah, push
Pull it all
there
the
you
way
go.
up. The screen is
We
dark.
are hiring, and, is this, I'm trying to get at least 28 on the second shift, which is growing now, and we have gotten 3 more fleets of trucks, so we are doing it, and the data is showing because we're cleaning a whole lot more than what we were doing in the past few weeks. And so, but yes.
You want to leave it where you're saying, are you suggesting or recommending that we leave it where it is?
Some of the workers there, they've been asking, can they work full time? So I think it'll be a good recommendation.
And of course, we'll have to, give it to HR, put it before HR too, but this is our recommendation because we haven't been able to get that many.
Well, it would
What do you
become a
got?
fiscal ask.
Yes.
Because that's an ISL,
Yeah.
technically. Because part-time employees are not considered, inside your complement. So it is an actual like ISL request. So it would be a budget request.
I see this as a longer-term discussion.
Okay.
Because of what Robert just said, it definitely would be an ISL to turn them over from part-time to full-time. And there's some other budget considerations that I would just like for us to know and understand about how the budget's currently set up. The equipment and things that have been put in place for the numbers that we're looking to gain. So I just would like to look more at that as a whole. So I feel like this is probably more of a long-term conversation.
Because I know we were looking at it for potentially the next budget possibly. But one thing, the point about this one was Public Service Corps has been the entity that can navigate, and get in quickly, get things done, keep it rolling, go over here and go over there, and it's not a lot of hassle, and you can get stuff picked up. And so I think that was the consensus, that we need that area in, in government, that in the city, that can just get it done. And so if we could make certain that we remember that that's the goal, I think that'll be great. And it's so good that you'll be the one looking at all of that. Okay, so the final, did we need to add anything in terms of policy recommendations?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, anyone else? All right, let the record show that he was here for Nally. We'll come back. Lastly, the fiscal request, twice a year dumpster days in each single member council district. Approximate cost is 1.4.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Increased number of waste receptacles in neighborhoods. Anything else? Are we missing anything? We also talked about, I just remembered, the preventative side, the prevention, in terms of educating our children, educating and kind of leaning into what Director Connect's area is doing and what EDRA, Memphis City Beautiful, is doing. So I definitely want to include that. But do you all think that would be a little longer term, or is that something that we can do or recommend short term?
We can recommend it. The animated videos and that is happening. So it's already ongoing, and it's good to recognize it and recommend it, I would think.
Okay.
Since it's a commitment. And of course, Eldra, obviously.
Are you all in the schools already? Is what?
We lost the person who was doing that for us.
Is, she's not there anymore? Oh, Lord have mercy. She was excellent, okay. But we still have the literature and all of that? Okay. Okay. So youth, okay, so youth education campaign, I'll just put that there, all right.
Because we have the other thing we're going to do, Councilwoman, the book club.
Okay, that'll be included in youth education campaign, and so we'll do, I'll put Memphis, MCBE and Public Works,
Clean Memphis.
book club.
It'll be
Okay.
with Clean Memphis. So Memphis City Beautiful and Clean
Oh,
Memphis
Clean
together.
Memphis, all
Yeah.
right. And literati, and we'll just list all of the stuff underneath there. We won't, okay, we'll leave literati out.
We got to talk about
Okay.
literati, unfortunately.
Yes.
Quick question, I'm sure you guys discussed this in previous meetings, but for short-term recommendations, what was the discussion around illegal dumping cameras?
Illegal dumping cameras. What did we talk about that? Does anybody remember?
Well, obviously, we have a robust program. And the thing that we're working on is our partnership with MPD, because we need them, and in many cases, when it reaches the felony category, we cannot do anything. We're only empowered under misdemeanor clauses. So once it reaches that level, an MPD officer has to be involved. So that's where we're trying to reconcile that in partnership with them.
Do you have some recommendation, or do you have some thoughts that you want to add?
I think theoretically, I'm not an expert in the field at all, but a lot of major cities are moving towards illegal dumping cameras in order to surveil major dumping issues and prosecute them more effectively. I think the city of Philadelphia did 15 as a pilot, and they saw immediate returns on their investment by way of fines to the most heinous offenders of illegal dumping. I think that we should at least theoretically allocate some funds in our short-term goal to do a pilot to see if the cameras are effective in Memphis.
Yeah, we have
cameras.
80 cameras in the field.
Increase illegal dumping cameras would be your recommendation? We're
So
putting that
how
under
that,
fiscal
I guess
ask.
generally, Dr. Connect, how are they working now? And is it that MPD doesn't have the capacity to surveil them the way that they need to be done?
So this gentleman here, he does all the surveillance. So we do it all internally. And then once we can identify a case, we can build a case, we'll start a police report with MPD, and then they'll help us move it on to the next phase. But go ahead.
Currently, if it's just a bag of trash or a threshold isn't met, it goes to environmental court, and the state only allows the judge to do a $50 fine. I think environmental enforcement is working towards setting up a program to recoup the cleanup fees, because that can be recouped as part of that in court, that environmental
Restitution
court.
payment.
But when it gets to another certain level, like if a person dumps 2 tires is a Class B misdemeanor, 8 tires is a Class E felony. A certain cubic footage or a weight falls into one of those types of categories. But we typically, like I said, we have 80 cameras set up across the city that use SD cards, and those images are reviewed. And then once they're processed, we'll have almost a movie of a person dumping, run the tags. If a vehicle doesn't have a tag, that's why I asked about the litter bug program. If they dumped enough, they would fall into that category to solicit the public's help finding them. And then, like I said, we typically, if a person has dumped enough to fall into a police-worthy category, I'll go to that precinct, file a police report, and then it is assigned to a detective. Detectives usually call me And then I'll share all of the images with them via the OneDrive through the city. And then they'll go out and do what needs to be done necessarily on their end through the DA and so on.
So I guess generally, in your opinion, are the cameras effective or cost efficient?
Absolutely cost effective and efficient. I mean, a typical camera that uses 32, a good quality camera is less than $200. And it's taking every other week. I mean, we're able, I don't want to quote statistics yet as far as how many cases, but it's enough to keep me busy.
And do we have the capacity for more cameras, or do we need more cameras?
I have other duties assigned with the cameras being extra. If I was just to focus solely on the cameras, I don't know the answer to that question. But if it was to be able to have strictly camera persons, I mean, it would be quite effective, I believe.
To your point, we may need to look at, if it's just one person looking at the cameras, maybe increasing that complement, but that would be long-term, and we'll note that as well, because we have 80. So we'll just note that as one of the long-term recommendations, all right? Increase.
And I would say it's a huge, successful program. We have had many documented successes with prosecutions. We do need the support from the DA's office. So we are always working to that partnership because we need them to help us prosecute. We can also go to environmental court in some cases, but we feel like the DA is another route that would be good to have as a tool.
Okay.
Aren't you with the environmental court?
Not anymore.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well, we've gone over all of these. Hopefully, we were able to answer your questions or refresh your memory. So before you leave, if you would rate these, of course, from 1 to 5, 1 being the highest priority, 5 being number 5. And so we'll take those and we can move forward and be effective in what we present to council. All right, our next item of business is a present.
So great. I'm going to send out or pass out an updated short-term recommendations.
Pardon me?
Since we made changes to the short-term recommendations, I'm going to send a passed out sheet.
Okay,
to everybody.
okay, perfect. So we'll correct that and send it out. All right, and are you all comfortable with that, or how do you all feel about that approach? Anybody want to have anything to say? Okay. All right. Okay, the next item, on item number 4, will be a presentation from the Blight Authority of Memphis, and we're going to welcome Mr. Harris to the podium for his presentation. We asked Mr. Harris to come because I just want to kind of make sure, for those of you who don't know, he's over the Blight Authority of Memphis, and we did note that a lot of blight and illegal dumping happens at vacant properties, and so it's an opportunity for us to shore that up through the Blight Authority of Memphis, and he's going to share his ideas and thoughts about that and what a little bit of support can do to help us mitigate these areas. All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for allowing me this opportunity to present this afternoon. My name is Mike Harris. I'm the Executive Director for the Blight Authority of Memphis, where our mission and goal is to transform blighted properties into economic opportunities. So just so that you understand, in 2015, the Blight Authority of Memphis was established by the City Council to pretty much be a real estate development entity and to help eliminate and reduce blight and restore the tax base. Everything about who Blight Authority of Memphis is established in Tennessee Code Annotated, which grants BAM the authority to acquire real properties or interests. So when we talk a little bit further in detail about what is it that we can do And what is it that we're designed to do? A lot of people feel that, sorry. A lot of people feel that by our name alone, that we are supposed to be driving around picking up tires and all of the blight issues. But that's not what we are. We are a land bank established under the state land bank program. We can acquire properties at tax auction by making a minimum bid using what we call preemptive bidding. We can, when we do this preemptive bidding, we can make the minimum bid and can secure the property in tax sale. If someone else chooses not to outbid us, we then get the property defaulted to us for free. At that point, we wait the redemption period, and as that redemption period clears, I can then dispose of that property to a developer to turn it back into economic use and get it back on the tax base. We have this thing called bulk quiet title action, and this is something that we typically use. We've only used it once, and it's when we received a large donation of properties. This is where we can take a large bulk of properties, and instead of paying extra fees to transfer each parcel to us, we can transfer them in one bulk action. We can hold properties in our inventory, tax exempt. Right now, one of the big projects that everyone is enjoying, looking at and enjoying what it's creating in Memphis is the Wolf River Bluffs project in Fraser. That project is unique because that affordable housing and great energy efficient homes that's happening right there in Fraser. United Housing had a wonderful project with that idea. Well, right now, the land that's right behind Adderley Lane, all those trees, all three of those parcels are currently banked into our land depository program, where we're holding them tax-free for United Housing so that once they get all their funding together and all their partners together, they can withdraw them from the land bank and then develop them into more affordable housing opportunities right there in Fraser. We can also dispose of properties in accordance to our mission. What does that mean? I am not a bad guy by default. I am your friend. I am the best thing that could happen to you when it comes to moving property in this town. When we acquire property, we're bringing them in, but we're only disposing for best use for the community. I don't care how much money you have. I don't have to be interested in that. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million or if you have $100. When we decide who we're going to sell to, we're selling to the individual group that wants to do the best project for this said community. And that's something that TCA allows us to do that other land banks we have in the city cannot do. We also have it written in the state policy that we can receive up to 50% of the taxes received on these parcels once they get back on the tax roll for up to 5 years. Now, what that would require is legislation or resolution from both city and county to enforce that. But this is something that the state statute says we can do. How do we compare to the land banks across the country? That's been a big question. Well, Tennessee is actually positioned to do some amazing things. We're not the best, but we're not anywhere near the worst. Our powers allow us to do a lot of wonderful things compared to others. But I'd also like to point out that one of the bigger issues that I see on the horizon that Memphis would face is we can't discharge public tax liens. And trustee can't do that either. In the states of Ohio, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska, they can discharge and extinguish public tax liens. Now, let's say, for instance, there's a property here that we want to put back to economic use. Well, if the parcel has an assessed value of $40,000, but it has taxes in the amount of $70,000, no one's going to buy that but an out-of-town investor because it's not financially advantageous to purchase. Now, if Blight Authority had authorization or a state statute that allows us to extinguish or eliminate this tax debt, that could then default to us and give us this opportunity to put this parcel back into economic use without having to involve an out-of-town investor that is ill-intentioned. So what is our model and what are we trying to create? We're focused on 3 things: reducing blight, returning properties to economic use, and making a better Memphis. When we talk about our land deposit program, that's a really great savings for nonprofits. When you think about not just United Housing, this is a program that Fraser CDC, Alcee Ball Community Development Corporation, they're all wanting to be a part of this as they become CHODOs and start doing affordable housing across our city. This is a shelter where nonprofits can come and deposit land, not have to pay taxes on it for up to 5 years, while they bundle their cash and get everything together to build the communities that they want to see. When we talk about property acquisition, right now I have a few ways to acquire property. I can reach out to the city real estate division and use the city surplus list to acquire property. I can acquire property from the county. The city property is going to be a municipal transfer. The county will be a nominal conveyance. When I do the nominal conveyance, we get county commission approval, work through the land bank. I could also acquire by way of the tax sale. If someone has land and they just don't want it anymore, they can donate that land to me. If I had the funding to go out and make direct purchases, I can go out and just pay market value and buy land myself. So those are the ways that we can acquire land. But right now, we're running into issues where our tax sale opportunities of preemptive bidding is being challenged. We've requested permission to seek a legal opinion from the Attorney General because when we try to preemptively bid, we're being stopped by our county trustee. And so now we're trying to ensure that we can continue to do this to provide services for this great city, and we're going to get that taken care of. In the event that we find that we cannot use the preemptive bidding, our staff is currently working on alternative acquisition strategies so that nothing stops. And when it comes to property maintenance, after we acquire, the first thing we do is deploy our teams out to go and clean off these properties so that we're not contributing further to blight. When we talk about returning properties to economic use, we have a comprehensive disposition process where, like I said before, we're not looking at how much money you have to decide if we want to dispose to you. We're looking for what you're trying to do in these communities where these properties are. So we have a scorecard system. So when you apply, we rank your application using the scorecard. After that scorecard has been marked up by our staff, we then review it. We schedule you for an interview where we address any other concerns or issues we may have noticed in your application. Afterwards, we skip over to our risk assessment process, where we've decided to say, since we're a nonprofit and we're more concerned about best use and restoring the tax base versus just who's got the most money, what's best for the community? And so one of the things we did, Matthew, who's here with us, is our community engagement and research analyst. His whole job is to make contact with nonprofits and CDCs across this community who are working tirelessly to know the needs, wants, and desires of each of these communities. So when we get ready to dispose, we have another scorecard that is our risk assessment, where we're reviewing reputational and environmental risk. We're looking at physical risk and financial risk. We want to make sure that this project is going to be the best project for this community, not necessarily for the developer that's asking. And that's how we're being equitable and making a better Memphis. We also feel that advocacy with environmental and code enforcement, affordable housing, and gap funding, it's very important for us to be successful. Everything comes together. And like I said before, we're not the bad guys, we're the good guys. And we're the good guys because of the fact that we can move with equity on the lenses of our glasses every single day. So together, we will make a better Memphis, because by investing in Blight Authority, we get to increase our property taxes. We get to increase our home ownership opportunities, increase the density, housing stock, and slow the rapid rise in costs. We can stimulate the capacity for local builders and developers, boosting employment opportunities across the city. We can reduce blight, promote attractive neighborhoods and neighborhood pride, and reduce the impact of investors and speculators. So what do we need right now? Where are we, and how can we be better for Memphis? Well, right now, what we have found is consistent funding is what's hurting us. From our inception, we are extremely grateful to the city council this year for the investment of $400,000 into our program. After doing a little bit of research, we found that in Syracuse, New York, Birmingham, Alabama, Cleveland, Ohio, everywhere else, their budgets they were starting out at $1.6 million. They ended up moving on to getting $5.4 million budgets, $4.7 million budgets to do this work that is acquiring land, demolishing structures, maintaining properties, and preparing them to be sold and put back onto the tax roll. But at this time, I'm not asking you to give me $6 million. What we're looking for, and it's not necessarily just from this body, we're fundraising as a nonprofit. We need an additional $600,000 that will help tide us over for the next 2 years. This funding will help us increase our staffing to be able to ensure that the maintenance is being done the way we need it to be done as we increase our property acquisition count. We want to invest more into property maintenance, making sure that we're doing our part. We need dollars to be able to secure these properties when we go to tax sale. So the purchase fees would be the acquisition dollars. Title searches. One of the cool things about the Blight Authority is that we are a clearinghouse. Most of the time when people buy properties from tax sale, they can't get insurance on it. Well, once we get the property from the tax sale, we're running O&Es and getting title searches done, and we're clearing that title. So when we dispose of it to the end buyer, they get a clean deed, and they can insure that property, and everything will be fine. We want to be able to demolish structures. So many times, we're finding properties that are half burned. We're finding properties that are caving in. But right now, until I have funding in my budget that allows me to demolish a structure, I just can't touch it. So that's another blighted property that although I could acquire it, I can't because it's a liability if I acquire it and can't secure it. In addition to funding, we need to codify some agreements with nonprofits. Both city and county need to do this to where nonprofits need to come through us and be vetted. But so many nonprofits that have just walked through a land bank process, acquired land, and contributed to Blight. And with our vetting process of how we equitably dispose of properties, I think that we would be the best place to vet those nonprofits for distribution, especially considering the fact that state law says that we can give to nonprofits properties at a less than cash value. In addition to that, one of the big ones that helps with funding over time is the fact that we are eligible to receive up to 50% of the property taxes on these parcels that we restore to the tax base for a period of up to 5 years. So that's who we are. And we've got a wonderful board, a wonderful staff. We're committed to doing this work, and we're committed to helping you in any way that we can. At this time, if you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you so much for your presentation, very informative presentation. At this time, Dr. Warren is in the queue. Anyone else?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if anybody else is having trouble, but I'm having trouble hearing today. I think we've got our reverbs bad. Normally we have better sound down here. So if you're talking in a microphone, act like you're going to eat it.
Oh, really?
Okay?
I'm so sorry.
People do it. Mr. Harris, one of the things I would like for you to possibly do and bring back to this committee is I would like a list of action items that the council can do that will help you be successful in your endeavors. As I'm given to understand it, we possibly through some ordinances or legislation can grant you more authority to be able to move on deals that may make it harder for people who are out-of-town speculators to buy up a bunch of property if we can get that property into a land bank. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need to know what that legislation is or what you need so we can do that. The other issue that I think is important that everyone understands is that there's a difference of opinion about how the county trustee can legally deal with properties that have come under her domain and how she can work with the Blight Authority, whether she can cooperate or not. And that is going to the Attorney General now for an opinion. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so once we have that opinion come back, then we'll have clarity on how we can move forward without, putting our county trustee at risk of in her opinion, of not doing her job correctly. We can make sure that she's got an Attorney General opinion that says whether she can actually work with you and how.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be important, and that's an issue that I think everyone on the committee needs to know. I guess the other thing is, on funding, I think it would be good if you could come up with, if you got X, what could you do with it? Okay, and give us a plan of, these are the areas of Memphis that need this. If I had this amount of money, I could do this in this district. I could do this in this district. And give us a shopping list so as a council, we can look at this and prioritize it and decide, okay, this is definitely the worst thing. We got to go after it first, because part of fighting crime and getting our murder rate down is getting our blight taken care of, because that sort of goes hand in hand. And I think that it's going to be very important that we do this. Is there anything you can think of that I did not mention that you need, that you should bring to the council for us to act on?
Yeah, I think that this is a very good start, and we can get started on this, and I can have something for you by the end of the month.
Okay, and maybe we could bring that back to our next committee, Madam Chair. But I think those are the action items that will really push us forward with the Blight, with BAM, and I think it's very important that that you give this report to the council so they can understand what we did today, what our receivables are, and we can be prepared to move on it. I think it requires us having changes in Nashville, and if that's the case, that needs to happen before the end of the month. It should happen within a week or two, so we could get up to Nashville and get some people to put in the bills that are going in now. So we need to find some sponsors locally. We need a Senate and a House sponsor for anything that needs to be a state law change. So we don't have time to bring it back in a month. So if you've got that sort of hooked up, that would be important. And I appreciate your time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get that taken care of, Councilman.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go back over it. All right. Huh? Okay, absolutely. Anyone else have any questions or comments regarding Mr. Harris's presentation or BAM and how it affects Blight? All right, if not, thank you so much for your presentation. We look forward to having you come back to share that information, and you can forward ahead of time as well.
Thank you so much.
All right, at this time, I think Councilman Canale, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Are we supposed to rank these like the whole sheet, the 5 highest priorities for the whole sheet?
What was your question? What was your question again?
On this recommendations page, is this 1 through 5 for the entire page?
No,
and
like each item.
Okay, and
rank it 1 through 5, whatever your ranking is.
Okay.
In terms of priority or importance, and we'll select the top ones and then move those forward to division directors to put if there's a fiscal ask, and then we'll move those to council.
Okay, I mean, honestly, we need to do all of them.
We do, we
But
definitely do. But
So I would like to also see if there is a fiscal note attached to some of these on what it would cost, just like the send out, putting graphics on city-owned vehicles, the media campaign. I mean, I'd like to know what the cost is for all this, and then maybe it'd be easier to rank on what we do first. But I mean, I think at some point.
Well, some of them we are wanting to move forward with immediately or, very soon. Some of them the ones that don't make that top priority list that we move forward now will go in with our end of task force recommendation to council. But there were some things that we looked at as opportunities for us right now. And once you all rate these based on the priorities, and we'll collect them, do a collective assessment, and move these to the division directors to attach a price to, and then we can move those to council.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? So I kind of wanted to just give space to all of you or each of you now, based on, up to this point or discussion that we've had today as well, to anybody that wants to have anything or any input as we move forward in anything that we've talked about prior to now or today as relates to the presentation or anything that we've moved forward. So we'll just start, we'll start on this end. Ms. Okay, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Erica Taylor. Pardon me? Just giving space to all of the task force members to share about what we've talked about today or give any feedback or any, just giving you space to bring forth anything that you've thought about the things that we talked about along the way and or today. If you had any additional input.
My main concern that I've always stated was just the educational piece. That's it's going to be very informative for our youth as well as the adults, because the adults are the ones that are out, doing the illegal dumping daily. So we have to get it across to them as well.
And as a environmental code enforcement officer, I'm sure. I'm sure that's something that is top of mind for you all because you're seeing that with the youth, especially.
We have to make the education very engaging when we go out to address citizens.
Okay, all right. Dr. Warren? You good? Okay. Attorney Shaw?
I think the work that this task force has done thus far is really phenomenal. I believe that there are some action items that we should look into very quickly that I think were just mentioned. So if we're trying to codify state law, then we need to identify sponsors within the next couple of weeks.
They're going back to
always
session.
throwing out Senator Ackberry. She's been a wonderful advocate of the things that we need to get accomplished in Memphis and Shelby County. Looking at the city ordinances and seeing what needs to be beefed up and kind of figuring out what we're currently doing and how we can assist code enforcement and the DA's office, the city prosecutor's office, and being more effective. So if they need more manpower, more money, I think this is the time that we ask for it. We've convened this task force for a reason, and so Director Connect needs more people. If he needs more resources, I think that we should be willing to advocate for those things at this point.
Absolutely. And one thing that I did want to share today, and I'm going to go around, but I do want to, those of you that may have a passion in an area or that's your expertise, to take a little bit deeper dive and then come back. And so we'll do that at the next one as well. So we'll send out after today a request for certain committees within the task force to look at some of these areas. And so policy may be, if that's something you want to kind of take a look at, we'll do that. That'd be great. All right. Chief Ryan, did you want to share?
I just wanted to mention that the MPD wrote out a campaign that's called connecttomemphis.org, where you can register your camera to assist the MPD in crime fighting, and this is part of crime fighting, illegal dumping is. And so as many people as we can get to connect their cameras, that would be, to your point, more cameras that we have out in the field that can help us to identify things that happen where we may not have cameras already positioned. So it's called connecttomemphis.org. You can go there and sign up and get your Ring camera integrated with police department.
What about businesses that are near, how can we use that to help this process? Like businesses that are near illegal dumping sites or? 'cause
This
the
is not
emphasis
just for
hasn't-
residents and Ring cameras, it's for
Right.
businesses as well. I'm glad
Right.
you said that.
Right.
So, yes, anyone in Memphis City proper can go to this website and sign up to be a part of this initiative.
Okay, so I know that when I read the initiative, I didn't really hear that emphasis or hear that at all. I'm thinking neighborhood rings, and things like that. So maybe that could be a part of ask if we expand that in the rollout to include those cameras for illegal dumping as well. However, we could do that to integrate that and put that at top of mind for people that if you have a business, we need to get you connected as well for things such as illegal dumping. Okay, thanks for bringing that up. That's a great point. All right, Director Connect.
Are you saving your?
So excuse me, we made a note of that to put that somewhere, Ms. Creighton, right? Okay, go ahead.
Are you reserving your comments for last, Chairwoman?
Yes,
Okay, just want to make sure. So,
I'm with it.
yeah, I really appreciate we continue to have some good concepts. Obviously, a lot of these have fiscal components. I definitely think we need to hone in on the cost to implement as many of these as we'd like to. I did realize we did leave another one off, and I did want to increase the number of convenience centers throughout the city since we have one. And the goal was to add more convenience centers too. So sorry to add to your list, but I realized that was one of my action. Yeah, that's a long term. Yeah, so that may be on the long term side. Thank you, Chantel.
So we are noting that for a long term.
Yeah, long term. You're right. But yes, yeah, I'd like to hear the comments and suggestions. So we're all about what we're achieving and working towards, and I think the prioritization it makes sense, and look forward to that. And I know in talking to Officer Witter, we all engaged with MPD and the Real-Time Crime Center as well, and those cameras. So we do have a good network of cameras. So adding more to that is obviously spreading a wider net and a lot more information that helps us to be more effective in especially capturing those violators and prosecuting them. So I think our partnership in taking that to the next level is really instrumental.
So I know you mentioned policy, so, we won't overload you. But we've been talking about cameras, and so we have, and she just mentioned that. So we might need to, if someone would be willing to take that on to kind of pull all those together, like the opportunity that we have with the different camera networks or what departments have cameras and how we can use all of them and connect them and, make it work. So who would like to take a deeper dive in that and report back?
I will. What is?
Okay, all right. And so
Your spare time.
we mentioned that you all have cameras, MPD has cameras, citizens have cameras, businesses have cameras. Who else has cameras? That's it?
It's an age of technology.
What about the 5G thing? How can we use that as well? I know
The
those are the cameras that are out
and
here.
the other applications.
But I know we're putting them everywhere, broadband's going everywhere, so we can kind of see if there's any opportunity there as well. Okay?
What I have noticed is that your MPD cameras and your Shelby County cameras that were put out by the council there are a broad overview of an area. And when you talk about what we're trying to accomplish as far as picking the person out that did it, we can see all day long a blue car or a red car, but until we get that magnifying glass out and look at a license plate or identifying marks on a vehicle or catch the person in the act, our cameras that we use, like I said, are pretty on the cutting edge of quote-unquote deer cameras, but they're some of the images you would be amazed to see. And I've worked with Real-Time Crime Center. They've helped on a couple of different cases, but like I said, a lot of the cameras that they have are a broad overview. They're looking for a vehicle that's fleeing. They're not looking for what we're trying to do with. It's a lot of information that gets gathered.
And we don't have to figure it out today.
Oh, right.
But I hear what you're saying in terms of the different, the purpose for cameras are different. But in your assessment and analysis and review and thoughts about it and what you bring back, you can include all of that and what the best practice would be or the opportunities are. And if there aren't any, then note that as well in terms of because we may not be able to integrate all of them into a holistic approach or view or look, but it's worth looking at to see. So moving forward, because we're spending, dollars, so we want to maximize the opportunity to get the best bang for the buck. And so, that might need to be an area to look at. All right. You good on that? Are you good on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Notes.
All right, next, as we get ready to close.
I think throughout the meetings that we've had today and
If you would share, I'm sorry, y'all, share your name too, because we do have, Ms. Shaw, she was here, she's new, so.
Okay. Do I need to push something on here?
It's on.
It's on, okay. I think throughout the meetings, it's just, we continue to just, I think, outline the importance of communication, fostering communication. There are so many things going on, so many departments, so many nonprofits are doing great things that will hopefully eventually rectify the problem that we're having with blight and dumping in Memphis. And I think throughout these meetings, that has been highlighted. We need to continue to focus on outreach. Kids, adults, just every avenue, every citizen that we can touch. We need to understand how code enforcement can assist BAM. How can we assist each other? I think throughout these meetings, that's been the common theme. We are all doing our parts. We can always do more, but we are doing, quite a bit right now. Some of you all didn't know about the illegal dumping cameras. We've had them in place for a few years now. So that's been a mechanism that, we focused heavily on in environmental enforcement. There's data, we can just better share, better communicate. So I think throughout this task force as well as going forward, that's, what we can continue to need to focus on communication and sharing what we're doing, sharing just how what we're doing can lead to additional resources, and hopefully, sooner than later, we'll get to a resolve for the problem that we're having.
Would you be interested in bringing back or sharing touch points or collaboration points that you've seen or noticed through the conversations and along the way?
Yes.
Even today, like you mentioned, BAM and code enforcement, but and anybody that wants to work with you on that would be great. So throughout the government, where the touch points are. I think that in the collaboration opportunity.
Okay.
I think.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Eldra.
Hi, Eldra White with Memphis City Beautiful, Division of Public Works and Department of Neighborhood Improvement. I'm happy to see the task force embrace the 52 Clean hotline and the reporting possibilities, because people do use the hotline. It's just not promoted enough. We average about 6 calls per week from citizens who report littering motorists, and I know we can get more than that. And it does get people's attention when we send them a letter saying that someone saw them littering and how they shouldn't do it anymore and the consequences. So I'm happy that this is being embraced by the task force. Also, as far as youth education, I wanted to mention if somehow you guys can help leverage our presence with Memphis Shelby County Schools, because we can only do one classroom at a time, one person at a time presenting. So if we had a bigger kind of presence with the subject matter within the schools, that would be helpful. So that's all I have.
I like that. So I would like to see, and I'm asking if you and Director Connect could make sure that we have all of the information that we give to kids, kind of compile that, what's important, what they're doing, compile with what you're doing. And then is it a way to do it digitally so that we can share? Because I know we have, and I'm just using this example, we're doing a joint effort with the county in educating the Memphis City employees on ACEs. We were initially thinking we were going to have to do it and it was going to cost money. Well, there's a video that the state provides that we can watch, and so everybody can watch it free. So if there's a way that we can make all of this digital and connected, all the components of teaching and education and outreach for youth, and then maybe do a presentation to them or, to the county or the school board rather, and get that implemented that way, it could roll out,
Right.
Much more efficient and be more widespread. It's just a thought.
Right, that sounds helpful.
Okay. So you will work on that?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, Mr. Gibbons?
Yes. First of all, I am anxious to see the AG's opinion that Mr. Harris mentioned when it comes out. This is my second time today.
Pull your mic up too, close to you. Y'all, well, I apologize about that. The speakers aren't on, so if you all could speak in. And I only have one hearing aid in today, so please talk a little loud for me. Okay, thank you.
This is my second time today and third time this week where the issue has come up of the tax sale process, preemptive bidding, and what preempts what. So it's a bubbling issue in the area of fighting blight. So I'm anxious to see that opinion when it is available. I think we have something to build upon with our cameras, and we can combine that with our illegal dumping, reporting, and DA prosecution. I numbered those items as though they were different items, but I think they can be combined to be one large item that is very effective for this body. And one comment, Chairman Logan, that you made just about the different types of cameras, that makes me wonder if there's some sort of ability to increase the citizens' participation in using cameras. If they were able to catch somebody with their iPhone, just increasing their ability to forward that on to city officials. But I think we've had a good meeting today, and I'm excited about what we're doing.
So if you're interested in the camera situation, just get with the camera team and add to your part. And then drones too, if it's a way we can use drones somehow, or somebody mentioned something about the deers. And we have some land up in Hayward County, and so we get all kind of pictures with those deer cameras. And it's at nighttime too, so it may not have to be like high dollar cameras that we get footage from. We could, deploy some like those deer cameras in the wooded areas and all those places. I know that's unconventional, but.
No, that's what we're using now.
Oh, okay.
Those are the
okay.
cameras because we want them to be covert. So
Yeah, the deer cameras are not expensive.
No.
Okay,
no,
good, good.
We spend about $200, and they're deer cameras, that's trail cameras.
Okay, well, good.
Yes.
I feel it.
But we get good ones.
Good, good. Okay, great. Thank you. And last but not least, you can go right ahead, sir.
Telly White, Public Service Corps. I like all the opinions. I like all the suggestions that has been given. Also, the first one on here, the informational pamphlet, I like that idea because I think a lot of people and a lot of citizens that I run across, they actually don't know where to dump something at. So I think that is a good one. I know I marked it as a 1. And all the other ideas on here I think are excellent. I'm glad to be here, and hopefully start seeing some of these things being put into place, start seeing the action gonna move on it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you as well. Someone had mentioned, I don't know who it was, it may have been Councilwoman Johnson, but someone had mentioned about, no, I think it might have been Councilwoman Dockery, about youth being, adding youth to your area, or having youth pick up if they get in trouble or something, having them pick up, or what are your thoughts about that? What was it? What was it? Like if they're they're on the verge of misbehaving and getting caught up in, that kind of stuff, they're just bad, but this will help deter them because they
Community
get out there.
service, kind of like a
Yeah, kind of
community
like community
service
service,
program.
but it helps to deter them from doing worse things. So what are your thoughts about that? Because we didn't add that on here, but it could be a long-term one.
It's to my understanding, this is Mr. McNeil. He was saying something about something in that area to me about it. I didn't get the full details on it. I don't know what to say that'll be a deterrent, because I do have adults working now, and they are actually working to support their family at it. So I think it's more so about the educational outreach to them and letting them know that, we need a clean city, and we need them to understand that throwing little water bottles on the ground, throwing drinks, potato chip bags, all that stuff, it started to consume. And while we go around the city, I know, and clean a lot of drains, because now with the leaves and everything that's falling, we trying to clean, but not only the young people but adults as well. When they litter, we are the ones that's going and trying to keep this stuff cleaned up, and our response time, I think, is excellent. But as far as the youth, I just think that we probably need to educate them more. The volunteer thing would be great for the ones. I get with Mr. McNeil to make sure I get a clear understanding on what them guys used to do, because I know they said they did something with the alternative school, and I think they would go to the school and they would clean up around the school. But I will get with Mr. McNeil to make sure that I get a great understanding on what he was saying.
And I guess what I was talking about, how children, like I know my daughter, they don't like to clean up. Like, they don't even like to clean up their own room. So cleaning up in a neighborhood is a deterrent. Like if you cutting up and you say, okay, you keep on, you're going to be out here cleaning up. Now, as an adult, we don't really say that we don't care about cleaning up, because we see the value in it. Like, we'll do it because we're adults. But I'm talking about children, they have a different point of reference. They think, we know it's healthy, we know it's good in our community, whatever, and we can have that education component to it. Like, you come in, you listen to this process, and then you go and do it, and you see all this stuff, you're like, oh my God, you're gonna see the impact that it's having on the community. So I wasn't saying it in a negative way about the work. I was saying in terms of the mindset of a youth. So it was just a thought. I just wanted to get your opinion because it came up, but when you talk to him, I guess you'll have more clarity in it as well. Okay, thanks. And lastly, Councilman Connelly, did you have anything? I think I started with her because you were writing. Did you have anything you want to add as we close? Okay. All right. Well, I am really excited about the direction in which we're going. We covered a lot today, but we did it in an efficient manner, so it didn't seem like a lot. But I'm looking forward to hearing back from you all next time when, hopefully you all make sure you get together, and those of you that are working there to come back and add that, and as well as BAM coming back. I didn't. Yeah, you can ask me if you want to.
Mr. Jones, Darius Jones, did you have anything you wanted to share with the committee?
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, well, that was it as far as the outline today. My glasses on. Is there any other items that need to come before this task force? Did I leave anything out? Anybody else have any last comment? Any aha moments? I knew you would be. Go ahead on. Your last comment. Go ahead on.
Well, it was mentioned by Councilman about the cost. Are we going to start trying to build a cost to go along with this?
Well, the plan is, yes, to answer your question, the plan now immediately is to take the ones that get the top numbers, get with the division directors to see if they could give us a cost, like you gave us the cost for the dumpster days. And so
Yes,
we
ma'am.
can put that on there. And then forward that to council, and then we, as resolutions, and we can vote on it. And the other ones will go in with cost at the end when we do our formal recommendation, list of recommendation in all these areas. That's the way forward. What do you think about that?
Just wanted to be
Vice
clear.
Chair? Okay. All right, sounds good. Well, if there's nothing further, then we are adjourned. Thank you all so much for your commitment.